Jimmy Butler, the most talked about player in the NBA. Jimmy Buckets has taken the NBA by storm this season. He seemingly came out of nowhere during his tenure with the Chicago Bulls before signing with the Minnesota Timberwolves and ultimately getting traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, he's the leader and best player for a team that is in the Eastern Conference Finals with a chance to make the NBA Finals. Quite frankly, has been an incredible star in the NBA during this decade. But he didn't just end up on the Miami Heat with a chance to play in the finals. He had to work to get here. In fact, he probably had to work harder than any player in the NBA. Many people don't know the story of Jimmy Butler, the player who literally came from the bottom to spearheading one of the most dangerous teams in the league with the Miami Heat. Here is the journey of the superstar Miami Heat swingman, starting from the very beginning. Jimmy Butler was not blessed with the sort of beginnings that was supposed to lead to success. He never knew his biological father, and his mother disowned him at the early age of 13 years old. The words uttered to him that fateful day, "I don't like the look of you." As a young kid, Butler did what he had to do and couch hopped at friends' places until he struck a friendship with fellow sports star Jordan Leslie, who made the NFL.
It is hard because, people say you just take a child you don't even know. And, and people think different things and say different things. And not to say that someone didn't come to me and say, oh, don't let him in, supposedly he's done this. You've got to go with your gut. He's brought more to us than ever we could bring to him.
Butler continued working on his game until he was guided to college, where he was a star for Marquette University. Butler wasn't an immediate star in college, as he was first labeled an average player that needed more work. And work is what Butler did, eventually lighting up Marquette University. Of course, Butler had to hit another hiccup. After a strong college career, he was only drafted as the last pick in the NBA draft by the Chicago Bulls. While it is a blessing for any player to get drafted into the NBA, Butler knew he was better than the last pick in the draft and wanted to prove it. What makes Butler so unique is that he didn't give up despite all of the hard moments he went through. In fact, Jimmy Butler hates it when people talk about his story. Not just because it describes him as once homeless, a tag that he now says was blown out of proportion times 1,000. I was not living under a bridge, that's homeless, or standing on the corner asking for change. That's not what it was. I'm not going to say it was the easiest of times, don't get me wrong, but I had a home, or homes. Nor is it because he's still haunted by his childhood and would rather not reflect on where it took place. Nor is it because he doesn't appreciate the Lamberts, the blended family with 7 kids that parented him through high school after he couch surfed for a time. He hates the story because he doesn't believe what happened in Tomball shaped him into an NBA All-Star shooting guard for the Chicago Bulls. This is how the old Jimmy would have described himself, anyway, because the old Jimmy was all about personal accolades. Today's Jimmy would rather talk big picture, about where he is in his journey and who has helped him get there. I would call it the step before a new beginning, the new Jimmy says. I'm not gonna say this is the beginning, this is the step right before. As gut-wrenching as it is to imagine a kid rejected by his family and having to fend for himself, Butler believes moving away from his hometown, first to junior college, then to Marquette University, and finally to Chicago, was infinitely tougher. While his mom told him he wasn't wanted, the coaches and everyone else who loved basketball in Tomball always did, which helped fill the void. Butler filled some of it himself, boasting that he could drop 40 on anyone in the country. No one picked up the chorus. 200 miles up the road at Tyler Junior College, no one knew him or seemed to think much of his game. Later, at Marquette, he received the same empty reception. Butler was a portrait of teenage bravado, a kid who didn't have anything else to buttress his self-worth. There were no recruiting trips or sit-down pitches made in anyone's living room, and there certainly was no press conference when Butler arrived on campus without a winter coat or any other cold weather clothing for the first day of school. Butler nevertheless took nothing for granted. He went to Portsmouth Invitational, a pre-draft workout camp that top players now almost make a point of pride to avoid. His team won every game, and he earned tournament MVP. He still worked out individually for 17 teams, the most of any player that year. No one told him to approach it any other way. The challenge for the Bulls had been to get Butler to expand his view of himself as more than the ultimate utility player. Jimmy Butler was immediately recognized as a hard-working and humble kid that was happy to be playing in the league. Butler remained true to himself and stayed obedient, doing exactly what the coach wanted him to do. His hard work and patience paid off as he came to life during the Bulls' postseason run in 2013. Butler began to blossom into a starting player, and he would start for the Bulls the following season. Jimmy Butler started for the Bulls every season after his solid performances in the 2013 playoffs, hitting his first major breakout in 2015. Butler averaged 20 points per game and 5.8 rebounds per game while being a major factor on defense. His scoring improvement and also ability as a ball stopper earned him his first All-Star appearance before winning the Most Improved Player of the Year award. He went from homeless without direction to be the last pick of the NBA draft and eventually ended up as an All-Star for the Chicago Bulls. Butler decided that he could not win in Chicago and found a new home with the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Wolves were an up-and-coming organization that had young phenom Karl Anthony Towns in the mix, alongside Andrew Wiggins. Butler felt he could be the man to deliver Minnesota to the promised land and help a young team grow together. He played well, averaging 22.2 points per game and 5.3 rebounds per game in an All-Star season. But he did not click with both Wiggins and KAT, as they seemed too immature and unfocused for him. Butler requested a trade and was moved to the Philadelphia 76ers. With Philly, Butler helped guide the Sixers to the Eastern Conference semifinals, only to fall to the eventual NBA champions, Toronto Raptors, led by Kawhi Leonard. The following season, he opted to join the Miami Heat, which was a surprising move because the team had nothing left from the era that featured the likes of LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. The Heat team looked young and far away from a championship title, so many assumed he chose Miami for the weather and lifestyle. Butler was expected to immediately become the man for the team and help guide them to the playoffs in the East, although he was written off as a competitor to some extent. Coach Erik Spoelstra said, "He's what we're about, and we're what he's about. It feels like he should have been here a long time ago." Butler's tenacity, intensity, and work ethic have always been admired by many, but have now been adopted by this relatively young Miami Heat squad. Early in the playoffs, Miami Heat's coach Erik Spoelstra needed only 7 words to describe Jimmy Butler's impact on the rest of the roster and organization. "He is us, and we are him."
Ever for who he is and what he's about. It's the same language as us, and that's why we're all following him.
Butler doesn't care what outsiders think. He won't allow anybody to put limitations on him or his team, and his relentless competitive drive is his trademark trait. Fast forward to the NBA Eastern Conference Finals, when Butler was asked if he really believed this type of playoff run was possible when the Heat faced an elimination game in the play-in tournament. He said,
"Damn right, I did. Damn right, we did. And the best part about it is we still don't care what none of y'all think. Honestly speaking, we don't care if you pick us to win. We never have, we never will. We know the group of guys we have in his locker room. We know that Coach Spo puts so much confidence and belief in each and every one of us. Coach Pat as well. And so our circle's small, but this circle got so much love for one another. We pump constant confidence into everybody. And we go out there and we hoop. We play basketball the right way, knowing that we always got a chance."
And now, with Jimmy leading the way, the Miami Heat are officially 1 win away from the NBA Finals. The 8th-seeded Heat dismantled the 2nd-seeded Boston Celtics 109-83 in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals. It was a game that was largely over by halftime, with Miami holding a 15-point lead before stretching it out to 30 points by the end of the third quarter. This was followed by 2 consecutive losses to the Celtics, thus setting up the stage for an interesting series that could potentially go all the way to Game 7. Miami currently features 9 undrafted players on its roster, with 7 of them on the starting roster. While the Heat obviously feature a formidable leading duo in the All-Stars Butler and Bam Adebayo, it isn't a far-fetched idea to say that if they win the 2023 NBA Finals, they could have an argument as the most unheralded roster of any championship team in NBA history. While the Heat still have 5 more wins to go before they can call themselves NBA champions, they can not only make history as the first 8th seed to ever win the championship, they can also do so as the most unheralded title team ever. The Heat's historic playoff run as a number 8 seed has been led by Butler's historic playoff run, and it's only fitting because, as Spoelstra would say, he is us and we are him. Jimmy still to this day might be one of the most underappreciated hoopers in this era. Always underrated, never considered a superstar, but he should be, and he's proving that as of late. A homeless kid that is now a superstar playing for the Miami Heat with a chance to win an NBA title is something that only happens in fairy tales. But this could be the story of the unbelievable rise of Jimmy Butler. Thanks for watching, and remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay notified on all our latest uploads. See you in the next video.